Last week I went and watched a college Division 1 track and field practice, and especially the jumps. For whatever reason, I've become very interested in the triple jump. I think it's just a very unique and interesting event, and so I'm interested in it, and I watch it, and I enjoy watching triple jumpers train and coaches, train triple jumpers. So I watched this practice, and in this practice there were three female jumpers, two of them working on the triple jump, one working on the long jump, and so I was most interested in the triple jumpers. And two things struck me about the practice. The first one, as I watched these jumpers go through a couple of the drills, the hops and the leaps, I was amazed at the force with which they were landing, and then again, jumping off that, and compared to what we see in basketball and some of the landings that I saw, is like, if I saw a basketball player land like that, I would just expect that they would tear their ACL. And so a female basketball player. And so, as I watched it, I was like, man, maybe the answer to, ACL injuries isn't, the dynamic warm-ups that I've talked about, or, anything else that we discussed. Maybe we should just train, a lot of the female basketball players in the same way that triple jumpers develop, and using some of the same exercises to develop the strength and power of triple jumpers would benefit female basketball players, and maybe that would, prevent some of the injuries. Uh, but the bigger, picture that I got, or lesson that I learned, or the interesting fact, I guess, is how few actual repetitions in the triple jump, the jumpers actually did. Uh, Through the course of the practice, they only did two full triple jumps. And same thing, I watched the high jumpers before the horizontal jumpers, and the high jumpers took, I think, four full run up, jumps, and a couple of the jumpers didn't even take any full run up jumps. So everything was kind of drilled down or working on a specific aspect of the actual event. They were doing different plyometric exercises, with the triple jumpers. They kind of mimicked triple jumping and were working on aspect of triple jumping, but weren't the full, triple jump. And so, and then you look at the technical aspect of a triple jump, which, I'm not a track expert, but I'm going to say the technical aspect of a triple jump is at least, as complex and difficult as, shooting a basketball. Obviously, different goals. So you might argue that the precision necessary for shooting is more difficult or more complex. Or you could, argue that having to put together, three consecutive leaps, or leaps and steps, is more technical and harder to reproduce. I don't know how you want to measure the complexity or difficulty of, two very different activities, but certainly a technical event. But much of the practice isn't actually focused on, the specific, event. And so, when we talk about players getting up reps, we just need to shoot 100 shots or 200 shots or whatever it is, practice to master our shooting technique. And then I look at triple jumpers, and obviously there's, the physiological aspect of the triple jumping. The toll on their body is more per jump than the toll on the body of a basketball player, shooting a jump shot. And maybe triple jump coaches would love to have 400 repetitions of a full triple jump in each and every practice, but it's simply not physiologically possible. You just break athletes down, and from fatigue, the last 390 of those jumps would certainly be, far less than max jumps, and maybe then we would see the injury rates in triple jump, explode because of the fatigue that basketball players play games under that type of fatigue. So obviously, hugely different constraints. But I do think it's interesting that in a technical event, in a practice session, there's such a reduced number of repetitions, whereas in basketball, we think of, well, you have to get X number of repetitions every single practice. Every time you shoot, you need X number of repetitions, and repetitions. And so maybe the answer isn't getting, a huge number of repetitions. Maybe maybe there's a different way that we could train shooters that would, improve their techniques beyond just shooting the same shots. So there was, a post on Twitter this week. Doug McDermott shoots 100 shots after practice, 100 3-point shots after practice every day, and he only misses 8 or 9 per day. So he's shooting 92% every single day. But when it was posted, I looked it up, he's shooting 31% from 3-point range during games. So are those repetitions making him a better shooter in a game? No, he's, for whatever reason, and I don't watch many Bulls games, so I don't know the details, but, he's roughly a 40% career 3-point shooter. He's shooting below that this year, despite continuing to practice. So is that a matter of, maybe it could be shot selection. There's nothing wrong with his actual technique. It's just the shots that he's taking are more difficult shots or lower efficiency shots. I think he was injured, so it could be remnant of the injury, and he's just trying to get through that, and for some reason it's showing up, in games, but not in his practice shots. So maybe he's not quite as quick coming off screen, so he's a little bit closer defended, so they're more contested shots, therefore he's shooting, a lower percentage. So there's a lot of factors that could go into it. And like I said, I don't know the details, but to me, kind of looking at the triple jump and then, just this random tweet, maybe there should be less repetitions for shooting, and maybe he could be doing something else related to shooting that could improve the shooting more than simply doing the same thing over and over and over again. I know, in shooting, the basic, instruction or the goal is typically to get more reps. And if you're shooting at 90% in practice, you're doing something right. So obviously you're getting better, and you should shoot better in games. But in this case, that's not happening. So why is that? Why is there a lack of transfer? Is it the practice design? And simply if we improve the practice design, then we would have better transfer, even though we'd probably make a lower percentage of shots during practice? Or should we restructure practice to focus on, parts of the shot or even parts of the body, maybe improving strength or whatever the injury is, and spend more time in that area and shoot fewer repetitions? I know I spoke to an expert in dynamic systems who's not a coach, but is an expert in dynamic systems, and he truly believes that that most professional players take too many repetitions because they've already reached basically the asymptote of their performance, and to improve they need to do something different instead of trying to shoot in the same way for multiples of repetitions. And this runs counter to everything that we believe in coaching. But I think, this example and the triple jump example, I think it at least gives us something that we can think about. Is there a better way that we could structure practice? Is there a better way that we could train shooters, especially elite shooters that have, already kind of ingrained their shooting technique, and they're kind of set. They are, kind of shooting within this, small spectrum. Is there another way that we can make use of their time and make them better, that would be more effective than simply taking the same shot hundreds, 200 times every single day?